In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about navigating the course. Currently, you are in this Start Here book, and upon finishing the Start Here book, you will then have access to the course syllabus and the extra credit instructions. You'll need to go ahead and read both of those. And then for the extra credit, you're going to have to actually record data. And I want you to record that data on the sheet that's located under these extra credit results. So just know that that's where the extra credit results data sheet is. So then we're going to talk a little bit about the first 2 weeks of the course. We're going to cover a chapter or a portion of the chapter every 2 weeks. So they'll be in blocks of 2 weeks. And currently, we see that those first 2 weeks are in collapsed topics. To be able to view a collapsed topic, you just simply click on that bar right there, and it's going to show you that week. So for the first week of the class, we're going to be covering Chapter 1. And the first thing you're going to see under these weeks is which chapter we're covering. So this one says we're covering Chapter 1, and it's going to talk a little bit about the description of Chapter 1. Now this is going to be a very important thing to pay attention to because we're not going to go in chronological order of this book for the most part. We're going to actually cover Chapter 1, then Chapter 2, then we're going to skip all the way to Chapter 12. So reading which chapter we're in, or which portion of which chapter we're in, is going to be the first thing that you're going to need to look at. It's going to be located right here in the very beginning. Then as we look through, there's going to be some extra assignments in this first week, like this Introduce Yourself forum, a syllabus quiz, and then an email assignment. And then after that, it's going to be what a typical week is going to begin to look like. Then we're going to have this reading and activities. This reading and activities, if we look on that, it's going to tell us, first and foremost, what chapter we need to discuss this week, or we are covering this week, and what pages that chapter is on. Then it also goes through and it tells you what activities you need to complete and in what order. So you need to complete, of course, the Introduce Yourself form, syllabus quiz, email assignment, and then you can just read all the way down. So that's going to tell you what we're going to be covering that week and what you need to do in that week to obtain full credit in the class. Now if we jump back to the main portion of the class, we see that right below this reading and activities, we have our lessons and questions. So every other week you're going to have lessons in this class. Whenever we first start covering a chapter, you're going to have lessons. So in this week you have 3 different lessons covering Chapter 1. You'll need to go through those and go through all of the lessons. So I just clicked on the lesson, and it's going to actually show you the lesson whenever it becomes open at the beginning of class. So you'll complete lesson 1.1, and then that'll open up lesson 1.2, and upon completing lesson 1.2, it opens up lesson 1.3. And then whenever you get through with these 3 lessons, or the number of lessons for that week, then you're going to have the Chapter 1 assignment, or the chapter assignment for that week. Then below there, you'll see the quizzes. Well, in week 1, we're not going to have any quizzes. And then below that, it's going to have the notes, discussions, and virtual office hours. So there's the notes. Here's the class discussion. And then every week on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I'm going to have virtual office hours. And this is how you'll access them, is by going through this Zoom icon. And then the extra credit for each week is going to be down here. So that's what the first week of the class is going to look like. Then as we open up the second week of the class, it's going to look fairly similar, but we're going to notice a couple of key changes. First and foremost, it's going to talk about which chapter we're in. Well, we're still working in the same chapter. It's going to have the reading and activities. So it's going to look roughly the same, but now your activities, you're no longer going to be doing the lessons or the assignment in week 2, but instead you're going to be taking the quiz in week 2. And then if we look, the quiz is actually going to be located right here. So under that quiz, it's not going to be open yet because I'm making this video before class starts, but it's going to tell you when is this quiz due, how many points is it worth, the time limit of that quiz, and how many attempts you're going to have at that quiz. So be sure to look at all of those components whenever you're taking these quizzes. So then we have, of course, Chapter 1 notes, the class discussion over Chapter 1, and then the week 2 virtual office hours, and then the week 2 extra credit. So the way that this class is going to be set up is every 2 weeks we're going to be covering a new chapter or a new portion of the chapter. In the first of those 2 weeks, we're going to have the lessons and then the chapter assignments. In the second week, you're going to be responsible for taking the quiz. So that's how this class is going to be set up. So I want to talk real quick about the class discussions. These class discussions are there for your purposes. They are a method where you and your student or fellow peers can all come together. You can ask questions, you can post comments, you can talk about different things pertaining to that chapter. This is an open discussion, and it's meant for you to be able to interact with different students in the class. It's not going to be graded, it's purely voluntary. So if you do have any questions, that would be a good avenue for you to be able to post that question, so that way your other fellow students can see it, and potentially they can respond to your question. And if nobody else responds, I'll respond to that question and be able to answer that question. So you as a student, it's your responsibility that if you see anybody posting anything here, then you should go in there, read that post, and try to answer it best you can. Or if you have any questions or comments, just go ahead and post it there, something that you want the whole class to be able to see, so that way maybe they have the same questions, those questions can be answered as well. But essentially that's how we're going to navigate through this course. And after you get done with the course, rather than scrolling a whole lot, you can click right there on that tab and it's going to collapse that week down. And it just kind of makes this class a little bit more cleaner. So essentially, that's how you're going to navigate through this course.